Hey everyone, Kat over here with Confessions of the Perfect Mom. Today we're going to talk a little bit about refried beans. So these are super easy, healthy, refried beans you can make at home with your Instapot. They are so amazingly tasty. They taste better than most restaurants, and they are as easy to make as canned beans. Trust me, your family will thank you for this. So before we get started, go ahead and subscribe to my YouTube channel. That way you guys aren't going to miss anything moving forward. You guys will be able to get all the latest cooking tips and tricks and parenting advice and awesome products and all kinds of really great stuff. But you'll miss it if you don't subscribe. So make sure you subscribe and make sure you hit that little bell notification so you get alerts when I have posted. Alrighty, so we live out here in the Southwest. Mexican food is a really big deal. And my kids are super picky. It is all about the refried beans. In fact, we actually would decide which Mexican restaurants to go to based on how the beans taste. So when COVID hit and we stopped eating out, my kids were really upset that we didn't eat any more refried beans. Because we aren't a huge fan of the canned ones, and so they really bummed. I mean, this was something that not only did we eat out at the restaurants, but we would buy like pints of it to bring home, and we'd eat it with breakfast burritos. We'd eat it as side to everything. We would make bean dip. Really, refried beans played a really big role in our house, and it was something my kids were missing, and they are a fairly healthy side to make. So we had to find a solution. So we got into Pinterest and we're like, we have to be able to make refried beans at home. Like, there has to be a way to do this that isn't super long, it isn't super complicated. And we found it. We are so excited. I probably now make refried beans 2 or 3 times a week because we go through them that fast. So I'm excited to share with you how incredibly easy they are to make. So first, you're going to start with a bag of refried beans, they're just pinto beans at this point. A bag of dried pinto beans. Now, if you get on Pinterest, there's all kinds of conflicting information about if you need to soak the beans overnight. Who remembers to pull out the beans and get them soaked the night before? I certainly don't. But you can't just throw them right in the Instapot either, because otherwise they're going to end up a little bit crunchier. You'll have a little bit of crunch to it, a little bit of thickness, which my kids turn their nose up at. They want ultra smooth refried beans. So I soak my beans, but I cheat. So you're going to pour them into a bowl, any bowl that you want. I like using metal bowls just because that's my preference, but you can do whatever you want. You're going to pour them in. You're going to cover them with boiling water. You then are going to cover your beans and let them sit. Now, if you're really smart, and about an hour after you do this, you remember that you have beans smoking or soaking, you can dump the water and put more hot water in. I remember about 50% of the time, so you don't necessarily need to soak them twice, but it works out better. They need to soak probably for about an hour and a half or so. Which is a good thing because I typically don't remember to start soaking my beans until after lunch. So, give them a quick soak in the boiling water. It will plump them back up. You'll actually be surprised at how much more it looks like there is in the bowl than when you started because of that. So, I've already pre-soaked these. So once they're soaked, drain the water. You are going to just dump them into your Instapot. I use the bigger Instapot just because we're a family of 6, but you can do this in the smaller one. I definitely have done that too, but again, we're a big family, so the big Instapot comes in way handy. Okay, so now you're going to want to add 3 to 4 cups of liquid. I tend to add 4 cups only because my chicken broth comes in 32 ounces, so it's just easier for me to dump the whole thing in versus trying to save a cup out of this, because honestly I'm not going to use a cup of chicken broth in anything. So I like the Swanson crafted roasted chicken broth, but you can use anything. If you don't have any chicken broth in your house, you can use beef broth if you'd like. You can just use plain old water. I like the roasted chicken broth just because it adds a little bit more flavor. But with the spices and stuff we'll add to this when it's all done, you really don't need to. So choose whatever liquid you want. The big thing though is that you are adding that 3 to 4 cups. So, and you just dump it right in on top. Nothing fancy. You're not worrying about precise measurements here because again, we're looking for quick and easy to get on the dinner table for the kids. Never pours as fast as I want it to. Okay, so that's all in. Awesome. Get your lid on. Make sure it is pushed on sealed. I have definitely made the mistake of starting this on the venting setting, so make sure it's sealed. You're going to push your manual, and you want to go 45 minutes. Okay. Again, a lot of recipes you find are going to call for either a way lower time or longer time. We found that 45 minutes works really well. It gives us a really nice, smooth, refried bean, which again is what my family likes. So you're going to let this come all the way to pressure, and then the secret is you have to let it fully natural depressure. It takes a while, but again, it's going to end up in a much better meal. So all in all, this takes roughly 20 minutes to come to pressure, your 45 minutes, and then 20 or 30 minutes to depressure. So you're looking at about an hour and a half. So you want to make sure that you have this started a little bit before you want dinner. Just because again, you really do want this to come fully natural depressured. So we're going to let the Instapot do its thing, and we'll get back to you as soon as it's done. Hey everyone, welcome back. Okay, so I actually kind of forgot about these beans today, and thank goodness they are in the Instapot because they can sit here and stay nice and warm until you come to get them. So I finally made it back. We have completely depressured here, which is wonderful. So we're going to go ahead and turn this off, and we're going to put the lid just off to the side for a moment. Now, you're going to want to very carefully take the inner rim out of the Instapot. It will be hot, so you have to be careful. We're going to want to drain the liquid, but I tend to keep a little bit of liquid because as you start mashing your beans, they're going to get thicker, and especially as they cool down, they're going to thicken up quite a bit. So you want to save some of that liquid so you can add it back into it as you're mashing your beans. So oh, that looks so good. Okay, so I like to pour them into just like a measuring cup because then it's easy to add them back into the bowl as I need them. So I tend to take out about 2 cups of liquid. Now there is still liquid in this, so you don't need to get it completely taken out. And then just dump them into whatever bowl you're going to be using to mash them all up. Again, I really do prefer metal bowls, but really any bowl that you want to use will work just fine for this. So let's go ahead and we can just set that all off to the side. Now, I like to set them on pot holders just because that liquid does tend to get a little bit hot, and so I don't like it sitting directly on my counter, but if your counter is okay with putting hot items right on it, just set it right on. Now, the spices you're going to need, a little bit of salt, and you don't want to put too much salt because you really don't want your beans to be salty, but just a nice little sprinkle of salt will really help bring out the flavor. Okay, so let's start with chili powder. This is something that my family really likes in it. We tend to like things with a little bit of a kick in it. If you don't, just use less of the chili powder. If you like having a lot of spice, a lot of kick, you can always add a little bit more. We tend to add about 2 tablespoons worth of chili powder in our beans. Again, it's enough that's going to give you a kick, it's going to give you a spice, but it's not going to be like sending you for huge amounts of water. The next one we need is ground paprika. And you want to use about the same amount of paprika as you did your chili powder. So I used 2 tablespoons of chili powder, so I'm going to use about 2 tablespoons of this. If you use a little bit less chili powder, use a little bit less of this. But you want them to be pretty much in equal proportions. Okay. The next one is cumin. This was actually a spice I didn't use a whole lot until I started making refried beans, and it really does add a nice flavor to it. So you want to use about half the amount of this as you use of the chili and the paprika. So since I used 2 tablespoons of that, I'm going to use about a tablespoon of cumin. So again, you're wanting it to be about half as much as the other spices. Okay. The next one, onion powder. Now again, you could probably use actual onions if you wanted, but my kids like onion powder, but they really dislike onions in their food, so we never put real ones in there. And you're wanting to use about a tablespoon of that. Last but not least, of course, is garlic powder. We love garlic. You can't ever have too much garlic. So you're going to want to add about a tablespoon to about a tablespoon and a half of that. Alrighty, that is it. Now, to mash these up. You can use just a potato masher. We did that for a long time. If you have one of these amazing immersion blenders, it makes it even faster. So I would highly recommend getting one of these. My husband finally bought me one for Christmas, and seriously, it's been like my favorite gift of all time. So we're going to go ahead and mash these all up. And again, my kids and my family really like this. Really, really well mashed. They like it super, super smooth. You will notice as you're mashing these up that they are liquidy to start, but again, as it cools down, it will thicken right up. So don't worry too much if it seems too liquidy to you. I always feel awkward, like I should be doing something or dancing or, you know, having like some wonderful insight to talk about, like while I'm mashing these, so you're not just like sitting there and watching me mush these all together. But I don't, so I guess we're just going to watch them being mashed. Okay, so that looks about pretty good. Again, my family likes it really, really mashed. They like this to be where there's not going to be any chunks of bean left at all. Okay, so that looks about it. Let's go ahead and taste it. Now, you have to be careful because it is still hot. So, oh my goodness. So good. So easy. Very healthy snack side dish to any dish really that you make. Again, we use this with our Taco Tuesdays. Tonight we're making tamales to go with this. We put it in our breakfast burritos in the morning. So I hope that helped you guys out and that you love making refried beans as much as I do. Go ahead and subscribe so you don't miss anything moving forward. We're going to have lots more of In the Kitchen. So I look forward to it. Thank you guys so much, and we will see you next time.